The first sign your evacuation plan has failed is not traffic. It is time. The second, a wildfire breaches containment, a chemical plume shifts with the wind, or a dam announces an emergency release, your margin collapses. What felt like hours becomes minutes. Most people imagine evacuation as an orderly departure guided by a glowing route on a phone. In reality, it unfolds inside a narrowing corridor governed by fire spread rates, hydrology, atmospheric turbulence, road capacity, and human delay. By the time brake lights stretch across the horizon, physics is already in control. The road you trusted has become a bottleneck shaped by mathematics, not intention. The central danger is network saturation. Road systems are engineered for predictable peaks, commutes, and holidays, based on gradual traffic buildup. Evacuation breaks that assumption. Thousands of vehicles enter simultaneously from clustered neighborhoods, converging on the same arterial routes. Transportation science shows how quickly free flow transitions into forced flow. A single stalled vehicle, a minor crash, or a powerless traffic signal can drop throughput below the level required to clear the population before the hazard arrives. When clearance time exceeds hazard arrival time, entrapment is no longer a possibility. It is a calculation. The common misunderstanding begins with distance. People equate safety with miles traveled. But survivability depends on exposure time inside the hazard envelope, not how far you drive. Wind-driven wildfires can advance miles per hour, and embers can ignite structures far ahead of visible flames. Floodwaters exceed mapped boundaries once drainage systems fail. Toxic plumes shift unpredictably with microclimate changes. If your route keeps you inside the evolving threat longer than conditions change, you are not escaping. You are packing the hazard. Hidden within emergency planning is clearance time analysis, the estimate of how long it takes to move a defined population through a constrained network. Clearance time depends on vehicle ownership, lane capacity, intersection efficiency, and behavioral delay. Research consistently shows people underestimate their own departure delay. Gathering supplies, debating destinations, securing pets. These minutes multiply across thousands of households. Feeder roads choke before highways even register the surge. By the time you merge, the system may already be operating beyond design limits. Evidence from hurricanes and wildfires confirms that even lane reversals cannot eliminate bottlenecks at bridges, toll plazas, and narrow interchanges. In mountainous regions, two-lane roads offer almost no redundancy. Smoke or heavy rain reduces visibility and lowers speed, shrinking effective capacity further. Capacity is dynamic. It degrades under stress. Panic increases abrupt lane changes. Power outages convert intersections into four-way stops, slashing vehicle throughput. Small disruptions cascade. The survival implication is direct. Your route is only as reliable as its narrowest point and the behavior of everyone using it. A single mapped path is not a plan. Real resilience requires redundancy. Identify every choke point between you and safety, bridges, rail crossings, low water crossings, steep grades, and assume each can fail. If two neighborhood exits feed one arterial road, you effectively have one escape vector. If that arterial crosses a single bridge, your escape depends on one structure. Escalation intensifies when infrastructure interdependencies activate. Fuel stations lose power without backup generators. Vehicles running low on fuel become obstacles. Cellular networks overload, delaying real-time traffic updates. Emergency vehicles moving inbound conflict with civilian outbound flow. Each system strains the others. Evacuation becomes a cascade rather than a relocation. Redefine the bug-out route. It is not a line on a map. It is a time-sensitive corridor through a stressed system. The goal is not maximum distance, but minimum exposure time combined with maximum independence from shared bottlenecks. That means studying road width, shoulder availability, elevation, alternate connectors, and historical congestion patterns before disaster strikes. Smaller collector roads may remain functional longer because fewer drivers choose them simultaneously. Departure timing also matters. Staggered evacuation reduces congestion by spreading load. Those who leave at the first credible warning often encounter lower density than those who wait for mandatory orders. But timing must be data-driven. Monitor wind shifts, rainfall intensity upstream, official hazard classifications. Acting on verified triggers reduces both delay and unnecessary exposure. Navigation apps optimize for fastest travel based on aggregated data, but disaster conditions change faster than digital updates. A flooded underpass or a road overtaken by fire may not register immediately. Exclusive reliance on algorithms seeds decision-making to delayed feedback. Local knowledge, knowing which side roads remain paved in heavy rain or which industrial exits bypass main highways, creates adaptive capacity that software cannot guarantee in real time. Human behavior further complicates flow. Wider highways feel safer, so drivers cluster onto them even when viable alternatives exist. During mass movement, desirability reduces reliability. The more obvious the route, the faster it saturates. Suburban developments often funnel thousands into rural two-lane roads never designed for emergency surge. Add a blocked rail crossing or a stalled vehicle, and linear movement becomes static exposure. Geography shapes survival. In floods, vertical movement may achieve safety faster than horizontal distance. In wildfire, moving perpendicular to wind-driven spread reduces exposure time. Route orientation must match hazard vector. Distance without directional analysis wastes time. Vehicle readiness also influences outcomes. Stop-and-go traffic in high heat strains cooling systems. Smoke clogs air filters. Debris increases tire failure risk. A disabled vehicle becomes a structural blockage affecting everyone behind it. Mechanical preparation is network stability. Defensive driving preserves capacity. Even minor collisions can have lane throughput until cleared, and towing delays extend during crises. Environmental degradation compounds risk. Smoke and heavy rain reduce visibility, forcing slower speeds and wider following distances. When vehicles per hour drop below incoming volume, congestion shockwaves propagate backward. Drivers far behind may misinterpret delay as temporary and miss rerouting opportunities. Pre-planned decision points, specific locations where you divert if speed falls below a threshold, convert passive delay into active adaptation. Another critical calculation is whether to evacuate at all. Some hazards pass faster than clearance time allows. A structurally sound building may provide greater protection from debris and radiant heat than a vehicle stalled on a highway. The decision requires comparing in-structure risk with transit risk plus delay probability. Indecision during peak convergence is often deadlier than either early departure or prepared sheltering. Social dynamics matter. Convoys slow merging efficiency. Returning for forgotten items multiplies delay. Emergency models assume average pre-movement behavior. Exceeding that average pushes individuals beyond safety margins. The overlooked truth is that safer routes often appear unimpressive. Service roads parallel to highways, agricultural connectors, industrial park exits. These paths distribute flow away from primary choke points. Identifying them requires physical reconnaissance, confirming they are passable and ungated in adverse conditions. Destination strategy also affects survivability. If everyone aims for the same distant city, downstream congestion awaits. Shorter distance, prearranged accommodations reduce travel time, fuel consumption, and fatigue-related crash risk. Longer journeys increase exposure to secondary hazards. Infrastructure can fail physically as well as functionally. Bridges exposed to extreme heat weaken. Floodwaters undermine roadbeds. Asphalt softens under sustained high temperatures. Without alternate crossings identified in advance, drivers may face abrupt dead ends. Finally, manage human energy. Stress depletes cognition. Dehydration and low blood sugar impair reaction time. Accessible water, simple nutrition, and driver rotation sustain alertness. Survival is physiological as much as logistical. A viable bug-out route is a dynamic strategy rooted in engineering reality, hazard science, and behavioral awareness. It is built before the sirens sound, tested before the smoke rises, and executed before the network collapses. When evacuation becomes necessary, seconds matter more than miles, redundancy matters more than familiarity, and timing matters more than confidence. If you want more deeply researched, life-saving survival breakdowns like this, subscribe now. Because when the next warning comes, you may not have time to prepare.